Welcome back, everyone. We got a great guest, one of my favorite bass players on Instagram, Becky Baldwin. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Been very excited about doing this one. Well, let's get into this. You started with piano and moved over to bass. What brought you over to bass?
It was, I guess, a mixture of a few things. It was my sister started playing guitar, and a couple of my friends at school started playing like electric guitar, and I wanted to get involved, but I didn't really want to copy them and just do the exact same thing because I thought like, well, if we're all just stood around playing the same instrument, that's not going to help.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so and like drums it seemed too different from the kind of stuff that I was doing before with piano, whereas because bass has piano is both like bass and treble clef anyway, so I was like, well, I've got a head start on knowing the bass clef a little bit. So yeah, and then once I started thinking about bass, I started realizing how cool bass players were. Like I was kind of more drawn to them as the cool member of the band.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And so, have your influences changed over the years with bass, or do you still have the same influences?
I guess they've become more refined, I suppose. Like at first it was just like whoever was the most famous bass players, like Lemmy, and some of the bands I was listening to when I first got into music was like The Darkness. So I really liked Frankie from The Darkness, and I was into Iron Maiden and Metallica, which I still am. But yeah, like Cliff Burton has stayed at the top of my kind of list of favorite bass players. More recently, Geezer Butler has kind of just become my just favorite person ever. So he just seems like a really cool guy and just an awesome bass player, which I think I guess in Black Sabbath you kind of can easily get distracted by just how wild Ozzy is and how cool he is, and Tony Iommi being such a riff master, and I guess sometimes you don't consider like the bass is there and like really incredible as well. So yeah, I guess Geezer Butler definitely one of my more recent favorites.
Nice. It's crazy because a lot of people don't like look at it like that. They think bass is so simple when yet we're kind of like part of the backbone of the band. We keep the rhythm with the drums, and that's what's insane. And Geezer Butler's one of those guys with Bill Ward. So
Yeah,
that's always
absolutely.
cool. Um, and as everyone knows, as from seeing all your videos, you love Rickenbacker. You also play Fender, but what drew you to Rickenbackers?
I think it was definitely Lemmy. I mean, it was just especially the kind of white one that you'll see at most of the Mercyful Fate shows that I did, and my favorite bass that I play. A lot of the Motorhead videos, like the one I think he's doing a Stay Clean. There's like a live video of him doing that, and he's got that like just kind of off-white Rickenbacker, and I'm just like, he just looks so cool with that instrument. And I guess a lot of punk bands like the Jam. A lot of like more retro, like 80s, late 70s kind of bands played Rickenbackers, and I don't know, I quite like that kind of era of music, and I just find them really cool. So yeah, they were always a bass that I wanted to have.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, as you know, I play Rickenbackers. I love your white one. How did you find that one?
So I found that on eBay uh, back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually ended up in a bidding war. It turned out this guy I was dating was also after the same Rickenbacker, and I didn't know until like I was like looking at it and like kind of put a bid on, and then I got outbid, and I was like, oh damn it. And then I went and saw him a few days later, and he was like, oh man, I saw this Rickenbacker online and I put a bid on it. And I was like, where was it? In South Wales? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I put a bid on the same bass. Like, we're both after the same thing. Anyway, like, long story short, I kind of was like, I'm not going to be in a bidding war with you. You have it, like, whatever. I can't really afford it. It's getting like well out of my affordability range. So you go for it. And then like things happened. It didn't go well. We broke up. We never spoke again. But then the guy who's selling the Rickenbacker contacted me and said, you also bidded on this bass, but now like the original buyer fell through. And I'm like, well, I don't know what happened to him, but I'm still interested. And then I managed to get the bass, and I was just like, it just felt so good in so many ways, because I really wanted that bass, and I kind of talked myself out of it and was like, no, you have it. I've already got a Rickenbacker. I don't need two, really. And yeah, it felt good that he didn't get it, especially because at the time I was happy for him to have it. And then after, when it all went wrong, I was like, I need that bass. You don't deserve it.
It's your closure bass. It's the bass that brought the closure, right?
It did, yeah. It was my last like ha to him, because he didn't get the bass that he really wanted, because I don't know what trouble he found himself in, but I guess he couldn't afford it anymore.
He probably sees you on Instagram playing it, and he's like, man, that was supposed to be my bass.
Yeah. I'm like, sorry, that bass went around the world with Mercyful Fate now, so
hey, that's cool.
I think he's had a good life.
That's cool though. And so you're currently endorsed by a few. How did you get into those products?
So yeah, I'm endorsed with Diodario strings, and they just kind of always seemed like the kind of, I don't know, the brand that are kind of always there, like selling really good stuff. And it was kind of the string brand that I really wanted to go for quite a long time. And then the other endorsement is Dark Glass, the amplification, and like they do pedals as well, mostly distortion kind of pedals and compression. And yeah, again, they're quite newer, like Diodario quite like, going on for a long time, whereas Dark Glass are a more recent kind of thing that suddenly every bass player on YouTube is like demoing these great pedals. And I don't know, I felt like it was a good mix to have a smaller company and a larger company that I could work with, and you get the benefits of both, like being with a smaller company that you can be them while they're growing, and there's more things you can help each other with while you're both like small businesses and small artists. But yeah, with Diodario, like it was just like once I got like that endorsement with them, I was very happy, because I've been chasing them for a while.
Okay. And did you get that endorsement before you did the whole huge tour you just went on last year with Mercyful Fate, or did you have it way before? Because you've done festivals and tours with Fury, of course, also.
Yeah, so I'd had those endorsements for quite a few years, maybe since like 2018 or 19. So, but that was mostly to support the tours I was doing in the UK. But I think like the way the endorsements work these days compared to like 20, 30 years ago is quite different. Like before, they focus more on the kind of gigs you're doing. But now it's more about like your social media following, which I guess makes sense, because if you're playing a show, it doesn't matter how many like thousands of people you're playing to. Not very often do people ask you while you're at the gig, like, what kind of strings do you use there? Like, it makes sense if you've got like a stack of like Marshall cabs or something. It's like, hello, advertising. But yeah, I think more so with like now our gear is getting smaller and smaller, because touring is getting more and more challenging, needing to make more money on those tours. People are more companies are gearing more towards social media, because you can then just people ask all the time, like, what kind of strings do you use, what's this and what's that, and you can actually have a conversation with them and tell them and advise them about anything they need to know.
Especially, I agree, especially like you're saying, social media is more of a presence, like, because those videos, if you're talking about Diodario or Dark Glass or like any of that goes viral compared to, oh, I wonder what string she's using on stage, because sometimes you guys don't even have the time to go to the merch booth. You know how crazy shows are, to talk to like your fans, or they don't make it backstage, so you're exactly right. Like, social media is the way to go about everything nowadays.
Yeah, you can't always announce like every company over the PA system and stuff.
Imagine. That'd be crazy. So what's your approach writing bass lines?
I guess it's like that my kind of approach with bass is like you're the glue between the guitar and the drums. So I like to get isolated files. So most of the time when I'm writing a bass line, it will be 2 demos or the final recordings, and I'll have the stems of each instrument, so I can just kind of listen intently to what the guitar is doing, like figure out exactly what notes are going on, and see which ones I'd like to pick out, what kind of harmonic content I want to kind of put across on the bass, and then really listen to the drums as well and think like which like tom hits and like cymbal hits I want to accentuate with the bass line. And yeah, so mostly it will probably be guitar first, following what those riffs are, and then looking at the drums and being like, well, how can I make it fit more with the drums? And then I don't know, somehow together, and then somehow something a bit new if it calls for it. Like a lot of the time it's better just to kind of sit in the middle between those, but sometimes, you know, if you can like add a kind of walking bass line, you can add a lot more kind of melodic and harmonic ideas that are not already there and make it a bit more interesting.
Definitely. And what I did read, because I did look at your page to get some info, you've played many types of music, and that's pretty cool. What's your favorite type of music to play?
I mean, obviously heavy metal.
Of course, but you've approached so many different styles, you know?
Okay, yeah. I guess, okay, if it wasn't for like metal rock, that kind of thing, I think I'd like to play like funk bass, because it's just such fun bass lines. I'm not much of a slap style funk bass player, but I love the kind of like finger style, like really fast, like you know, like Tower of Power and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love those kind of bass lines. They're, you know, it's like the kind of speed that metal has, and those kind of interesting rhythms that metal have, but with like a disco beat and like fun dance moves.
And they're catchy as shit too. That's
hell yeah.
And then so you have a really punchy bass tone. How did you find your bass tone for you?
I think I always wanted like a kind of more distorted, high-end, gainy, almost guitar sounding like tone. The Lemmy Motorhead influence was definitely there. So before I was using like guitar effects pedals, I was just like, you know, anything I could find that someone was getting rid of, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Putting that in the mix. And then when I found out about Dark Glass and started using their pedals, then I was like, okay, yeah, this works. This feels like a bass still, whereas before I was the bass was sounding more like a guitar. And it's one of those things where it sounds great on its own, but in a mix, you're like, you need the bass to still sound like a bass in the mix. So once I kind of found the Dark Glass stuff, that's when things started to fall into place a lot better.
And do you still feel like you're still finding your tone, or you feel like you have it, it's there, and everything like that?
Well, I guess I mean, I feel satisfied with it. I feel very happy with it, but this always happens. Like I'll, you know, have one of these pedals and I'll be like, yeah, this is great. This is my tone. And then they'll come out with a new one and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll try the new pedal and I'll play around with it. And I'm like, oh no, yeah, this is the one. So the latest one is the Dark Glass Photon pedal that I've been using for the kind of distorted, like overdriven kind of sounds, and it's been great. But then I thought the one before that was great as well, so it's like wait till they come out with another one and then I'll be first in line to get it.
And then you're like, that one sounds great too. Like,
I'm like, oh God, I have to replace this one too.
That's funny. So have you written any, like, for you writing wise, have you written any favorite bass lines for yourself, for any of your bands?
I guess my favorites would be the Fury song Road Warrior. There's kind of this, it's kind of a metal song, of course, like a rock song, but in the middle it goes into this cool walking bass line. Actually, also the other song is Embrace the Demons. I really like writing walking bass lines. I find them so much fun, especially as a little something different in a metal song, where it's normally like, okay, here's a riff, there's a riff. You're just going to go chug, 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 and you know, and like play 0, 3, 6. Right. So like having a bit where you're just using a more consistent rhythm and you're playing around with different tones and parts of like the chords and things, I find that a lot more interesting and to the listener as well, especially if you're like in an instrumental section, you're like kind of following where it's going. So the Road Warrior has a really cool walking bass line in it, and Embrace the Demons is the other one that's mostly walking bass line most of the way through it, which is really fun to play.
It's crazy because like I listen to a bunch of it and like you're right, you don't really hear bass line, like with walking bass lines in songs nowadays. That's sick to just throw that in there and it fits perfectly. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How has your live setup changed over the years?
I guess it's just got a little more streamlined since using the
Mhm.
dark glass stuff because they've just got smaller
Mhm.
amp head and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And during the Merciful Fate tour, they have no amps on stage. It's all just going through front of house, which gives them a
Dang.
lot more control over the sound and make it more consistent from one gig to another.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so that was really weird for me because in all of my touring years, I've always had an amp. And it's kind of when they contacted me and asked me about my gear, I just assumed that there'd be an amp somewhere, and like I'd
Yeah.
have to find one in over in America to use on the tour. But they were like, "Oh no, there's absolutely no amps. It's all
Dang.
just So I just brought that little photon pedal from Dark Glass, and
Mhm.
yeah, that just took me around the whole tour, which is great.
Mhm.
I was like, I should tour like this all the time. This is fantastic. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's easier to do stuff like that when you have a brilliant PA, a
Oh yeah.
brilliant crew, monitoring system at every show. Whereas the shows that I do back home with Fury,
Mhm.
the venues are always different. That's the excitement of it. Some of them, great in-house PA system. Sometimes they have no monitors, and sometimes like very small PA, but it sounds great no matter what. Like, and you're just appreciative that you did bring an amp, and because I
Yeah.
don't know. I think like nothing sounds quite like an amp sounds, and also the feel on stage is different as well. So um, yeah, so I guess I've experienced a few different ways of
Mhm.
doing it, and it's just great that we have these options and different ways of making tours work for yeah. So if I have to fly over and do some gigs with just
Yeah.
a little pedal, I can do that, and if I have the opportunity to bring an amp, then that's awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that he did everything like from front of house. I didn't know that there's no amps because I've seen him live, of course, but you would think like maybe it's behind everything or something. I don't know. You never know. But that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that must have been like, well, like you said, like a whole new learning experience because it wasn't like that for you over in the UK where you tour most of the time. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, more bands are moving towards the no amp thing, and it is great because the pedals, the technology has just come along so
Yeah.
much that it sounds the same. It's kind of sounds like it's coming through a cab. So yeah, so it's great that that's an option. But I don't know, like for me, for most gigs, I really prefer to have an amp there.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like you're a bit more in control. But of course, it just doesn't work out um, for bands of a certain level. It just makes way more sense to put everything through the front of house where they have full control that way.
Yeah, at least you had an easier load in, right?
Yeah, absolutely no load in for me because we've got crew as well. So
You're like, I just get to chill. That's
yeah,
crazy.
but yeah,
So
I mean, no amps means more space for like props and stuff.
oh yeah. And they carry a lot of like that type of stuff too. Like it's like a whole house.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just like building this thing together inside your venue, and you're like, wow, okay, that's gonna take some time.
That must have been cool seeing that though every like day that being built all set up. And did you get to like rehearse with them before or like did you learn everything, fly out there and just like play with them?
Oh, we had like I think we were supposed to have like 3 days of rehearsals, but I had some
Mhm.
problems with my flight getting over there, and I ended up just having like 1 day of rehearsals, and it was King wasn't there, so it was just like an instrumental rehearsal. So and it went really well. It was cool, but it was still like, okay, but how's it going to be when it's the full band?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was still very daunting, and especially just knowing that we were supposed to have 3 days of rehearsal, and now it's been cut down and cut down. Um,
Dang.
but yeah, and then we sound checked. The sound check was kind of the full rehearsal, so we only did a couple of songs, and we just spent the time mostly just getting the sound right. But that was also with all the stage, all the setup, like those like stairs,
Yeah.
the kind of altar with like the big cross and stuff. So it's the first time I've had that kind of experience where you have a big production going on behind you. And that was really cool. It was
I
really
bet.
amazing to watch them build it from scratch.
Dang. And so basically with them giving you the songs and stuff like that, what was your approach learning them? Did Joey give you some advice, or did you go back and do like you listen to the tracks? Oh, this is what the original guy's doing.
It was kind of a mix. So like once I first got the set list, I just started listening and listening and listening. I started making notes on and learning just by ear what was on the recording. And then Joey was kind enough to sort out a full track. I'm not sure whether it was a live recording from. It was definitely a live recording from a show, but I don't know whether he then recorded his bass over the top of just like, okay, this is what you should play. Just did a rough like playthrough and then sent it to me, so I could isolate the bass and hear exactly precisely what he's doing live. So I don't know if his bass take was live or if he just kind of sat down in the studio and did that. But yeah, that meant that I could, even if it wasn't exactly what Timmy Hansen did on the original recording, it was something that I knew would work with the band live because Joey has been doing it. So that kind of cleared a lot of things up for me because like a lot of the older recordings, most of the time the bass is very clear and it's great, but sometimes it does get a little bit muddy. You're just like, I can't quite tell what's going on here. So being able to I know the band are happy with this being played. If I just do that, if I'm not sure, then everything will be fine. So yeah, that was super helpful. And then I just like made loads of notes, kept refining it, kept like trying to play through the song without the notes. And yeah, since coming back from the tour, I've had a bit more time with the songs, so I've actually I keep playing them because it's like, well, I don't know, like now I have more time to be more accurate with them, whereas before it was like, just make sure the structure's right, make sure each riff is correct. And now I'm like, well, actually I could, every time there's any slight variation, I can like kind of hone in on that because I've got more time to learn it. So yeah, I've been going back through the songs and trying to transcribe them all in full, and then like do bass covers again with the full version, which has been kind of fun.
Oh yeah, we've been enjoying those. Plus, and you never know, they might need you again. You've been with them now before. Joey might get busy again, and it works if they know, and they know you work with them, so it's perfect to keep going over them.
Yeah, it makes sense, and like Joe's a very busy man, so who knows?
As you know, as bass players, we have to be in 8 bands at a time, right? So and that he stays consistently busy. So did Joey Vera like approach you to cover his tour, or did King?
So it was, I think, King who kind of made the decision that I would that he wanted to ask me, but I think it was Hank that picked me out to King. So King was kind of like looking through suggested bass players and was like, well, I'm not sure about these bass players. Have you got any more? Also, why are they all guys on this list? Like, are there no women who play bass? And then apparently Hank was like, actually, I know a bass player. I've been seeing her play online. And she seems really cool, really likes the old school metal. I think it would, if you're going to find like a female bass player, I think this might be the right person to look at. And then yeah, King had a look through some of my videos, and so I think King makes most of the main decisions. So he was like, let's do this, and then the management like started getting wheels in motion, and yeah, asked me to do it. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty like unexpected as well.
Plus, it's a huge compliment because you've been doing covers for a long time. I've seen them since I started my page a long time ago. You're everyone loves your covers. So it's a really big compliment if out of everyone he enjoys your covers. Like, come on, that's like.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like I had no idea that like Hank had even come across any of my covers. Like so, yeah. I don't think he even saw. I did a Mercyful Fate cover back in like 2017 or something, and I put like the King Diamond makeup on and like played through it. I don't think he even saw that one, but he must have come across my page another time, and he remembered it. So that's like a huge compliment. You never think that when you're doing these covers that it's ever going to lead to something like that. You just think, well, some people enjoy it, you get some comments, some people will follow along, that's great, but you don't think of like who might follow along, like who's watching. There could always be someone like ridiculously famous watching you.
Right?
No pressure though.
Pretty much no pressure. With you doing bass covers, how did you get into doing that?
It was very organically, really. I was just messing around. This was when Instagram was very new, and it was like 15-second clips, I think, on the on like the main feed posts, and I just kind of played a little something. I didn't really know. I had only been like posting pictures of my pet rats on Instagram before, and so I was like, I don't know what this is. But yeah, like posted a little, like playing a little something. It was like hashtag bass.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like, oh, this post is done. Like, I've got loads of random people liking my posts, and I'm like, why
Yeah.
is that? And I'm like, oh, maybe you're supposed to use the hashtags. Like, you can. It's a kind of interesting skill that a lot of people are interested by, compared to just pictures of your pet rats. Like, that's
Right.
not what people are into. And then I just was like, okay, let's try another one. Like, I did another little bass video, and then it just started going like growth like crazy.
Oh
And
yeah.
like then I started doing it on Facebook as well. I still haven't like got my head around TikTok fully, but
You'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out eventually. I just don't know whether it's the right audience for it, like the kind of people who use TikTok.
They're a little weird with it. I'll admit with you on that because I've done it, and it's like it's more of an Instagram thing. People want the whole cliche, like silly stuff on TikTok. It seems, or like you do something silly on tour. I don't know. That's what I've kind of learned with TikTok, but
Yeah, I think they
that's
like the more personal element on TikTok,
yeah,
whereas Instagram seems I don't know, like it's a different kind of thing that people are after.
it's different for sure. And what's your approach with picking songs you cover?
Mostly like things that I just like the bass
Yeah.
line of, like things that I've learned that I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool line, or that's a really underrated line. I don't think people would notice it because of like the guitar's doing this and the drums are doing that and the singer's like wailing. And so anything that can kind of highlight and bring out that bass line that's like that'll be more different, stuff like that. And also for a while when I was really on the kind of social media, let's like see what I can do with this, I was kind of looking at particular events, like anniversaries of particular albums and things, and just so I could just talk about the history of those songs and like the music and stuff around it. So I guess those things generally. And but now it's just like whenever I come across a bass line that I just think is cool.
And with you saying that, is there any current bass line that you're like, damn, and you haven't covered it? You're like, whoa, that's amazing.
I guess I know that there's what I want to do. Ride the Lightning soon. That's definitely on the list.
Cool.
It's been on the list for ages. I just need to get around to it. It's just a really cool song, some cool riffs there. And that Testament one, Souls of Black, that was on my list for a long time as well. Like I'm so glad with how pleased with how that video went down. Also because it's like the bass, it's like an intro. People are just like, whoa, what's going on here? And they're like, this is a sick bass line. And then it's a really cool song afterwards.
Oh, it is. What I've noticed, you pick like some of the craziest bass lines. I'm like, and like the cool thing is you like get into where we actually can see what the hell you're doing. That's where I'm like, well, I was watching another one and I'm like, because I read on your thing, you specialize in like doing like finger picking, and some of it you're doing three fingers, and I'm like, man, she's crazy. How do you know what song like approach, like do you need to bring in the three fingers just because of the how fast it is? Or
actually, I don't use three fingers. I know that it looks like it, but like the other finger is moving, but it's usually muting, or I don't really know it. I don't have much control over it. It's just like
it looks cool.
But I'm mostly just doing two finger thing, and then just trying to like alternate which is like the more dominant one. But I've never really mastered the three finger thing. It just seemed, I don't know, like when I started like kind of trying it more and more with like people talking about Steve Harris using it, and then I heard somewhere that he doesn't actually use three fingers, and it's the same thing. It's just waving around there, looks like it's doing something, but it ain't. And then I'm like, I don't know who to believe now. So but I find it like it's hard to get as consistent a sound when I'm using like three. Do you use three, or do you find
I get told
two.
all the time the same thing that you say. It looks like you're using 3, but you're really using 2. I get told
Yeah.
so, and it kind of looks. So now I see what people are saying when they say that. Because like for me, I was like, dang, dude, like, because I can't even master that because one of my ring finger is a little shorter than my index. Well, my middle and index, kind of.
Oh
So
yeah.
it looks, it's kind of hard. It feels like you have T-Rex fingers a little bit.
Yeah, trying to get the right angle with that is kind of, I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
how people do it. Like, there's people that use all four, and
I
I,
know. And I'm just like, how do you do that? Your pinky's way shorter than all of them.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know. Yeah, I find like it's, for me, it's hard to get like them all to sound the same volume. Like I could just like play with. Actually, there was a time where I had a really bad blister on my middle finger, so I was just using like just
Oh shit.
the other two, and but it
Damn.
was kind of weird and slow and not very good. But
That sounds very awkward. I'll say that
yeah,
I think my dominant finger is my middle finger when I play, though, for sure.
yeah,
Like,
same actually.
so that's because I've noticed that from watching my videos. I never noticed it other than that. Um, so you've been so okay, so you've been like touring with a few bands and you've played a lot of shows. What's your dream lineup for either Fury or if you did play with Merciful Fate again?
Oh, what like bands, other bands to be on the lineup and stuff.
Yeah, something you would love to have happen, like bucket
Oh,
list.
it would be Fury, Iron Maiden, and Metallica.
And then would you want them to be doing like because you know how Metallica's doing the no repeats? Would you want them to do something like that or like focus on a record?
Oh, I think, yeah, I like the no repeat thing.
That's cool. I thought
Over
that was
2 days.
interesting.
Although the thing is, they have a different support band on the other day, so I guess Merciful Fate will have to open up on the other
Right?
day.
That'd be very interesting, right?
That'll be fine. Yeah,
It'd be cool.
it could happen.
Never know. You never know, right?
Yeah, yeah. The world has done weirder things. I've realized. So
Pretty much. And
yeah.
how do you prepare for a tour?
Um. What? So in terms of like playing, like I guess it would be I guess practicing loads, obviously, and I like to practice to like the live versions of the songs
Mhm.
instead of like the recorded version, because sometimes actually I did find on the Merciful Fate tour I started learning Melissa
Nice.
um, with the recording, the studio version. And then when he sent through the live version, I'm like, there's a bit missing. Like they kind of shortened the song a little bit.
Mhm.
So it was like, oh damn, like I'm missing this little like lead bit here. So
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like it's more important to play it with the live videos, and
Yeah.
it kind of helped with like cues as well, and like if there's anything that's slightly different, if someone plays like a lead guitar line slightly different, if a drum hits in a different place than you expect, better just to get used to that live version.
Mhm.
And as I kind of say in my videos that I post, like that I like to play standing up.
Yeah.
It gets more, you just get more ready to when you're actually doing it live.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then I guess that's most of the practicing element, and then it's just kind of gathering your gear, your home comforts, and I don't really know what those would be, but yeah. And then yeah, get on the road.
And then so when you did go on tour with Merciful Fate, Fury was going to do a tour. So you had your boyfriend, Luke Appleton, who was in Blaze Bailey's band, fill in for you. Did you teach him the bass lines or just from living together for a long time, he just knew them?
Yeah, I mean, he's very familiar with the songs because
Mhm.
he's come to loads of our gigs. He's been around when I've been playing them, and he was probably around for most of the recording process as well, while I was at home recording the album. And yeah, I have a few like resources, like a few like playthrough videos and transcriptions that I'd made for students. So I just kind of like sent him everything I could, and then the rest I was like, "You're on your own. You can figure it out." Like, but he's played for a long time as well,
Mhm.
so I knew I was leaving Fury in good hands, and yeah, he had a blast with them in Ireland and a few other places as well.
They probably sent you fun little clips. Hey, we're having fun without you, Becky. I hope you're.
Yeah,
And then like, you probably got a bunch of videos like that. Um,
yeah.
and then so you've been on tour a bunch of times. Did your tour rituals, do you like, because I'm guessing you have tour rituals in UK. Did you bring them over to the US and have like any of the same ones?
Um, I didn't really know what to expect for the tour in the US, like
Mhm.
what kind of just where I was expected to be and what I was expected to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of kept an open mind when I went to the States for the tour because usually if I'm touring with Fury, we load into the venue about 4 o'clock. We set up the equipment, we sound check, then we set up the merch. We wait around the venue, we eat something, blah 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 blah. But we're there the whole day,
Yeah.
and the day may start like in the morning for like the drive down. So we're always together. We're always in the venue for the whole day, and then doors open. We meet some fans, get on stage, watch the other band, and stuff like this. So it was all completely different when it came to the Merciful Fate tour because we usually didn't go to the venue until just before we were going to go on stage, which it's just like alien to me. I'm like, what? But like, how will I know where to go? Because it's a very big room as well. Like now, this is a lot. There's a lot more to take in compared to like the venues that I was doing back home. So, I always try to see if I could get a lift into the venue as early as possible so that I could have a bit of time before doors open to scope out the area, see what the stage looks like, and see where people are going to be standing and sitting and things like this. So yeah, that was something that was very strange to me, but I try to keep what I'm used to a part of it and let myself like settle into it. Whereas, the other guys, they've been doing it so long, they're just ready to go whenever someone picks them up and says, right, okay, show's in half an hour, hop in the cab, take you there, drop you off on stage straight away. Whereas I'm like, oh, no, like I need to get there, walk around, look at things, speak to some people, get settled. And, I want to, get changed, warm up, have a drink. And yeah, all these things that like make me feel like it's a gig.
Right. So you didn't have any Spinal Tap moments at all?
I'm pretty sure, getting lost around the venue that was quite common. But usually I just wander into someone else's room and be like, I'm not supposed to be here. Goodbye.
I just always picture bands like trying to roll up to the stage and they're like, good evening, Wisconsin. You know how like that they get lost and they end up in all those different spots in that movie. That's what I'm assuming when you're like, oh, I had to get there early to make sure I didn't go to the wrong areas.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm like
Yeah.
picturing in my mind.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to get lost like trying to find the stage. So I'm like, I'll get there early. I'll know, I'll have a big tour. I'll like take myself around before anyone gets there, and we're not gonna have any of these troubles.
Right. Did you have any like favorite cities or states you played over here?
I remember when we played New York. That was a really cool venue. It was at the King's Theatre, and yeah, that just felt like a very special, legendary venue, which I didn't really notice. I didn't know anything about it before going there, and then I think someone mentioned like, "Oh, this it's a very famous theatre. It's very cool that they've refurbished it, and it's in some movies." And I was like, really? Oh, okay. And then I came home, and like a few months later, I was watching this movie, and I was like, oh, "That's the venue! Like I've been there." Yeah, so that was great. The Los Angeles one was cool. I remember Cincinnati a little bit because that was one where we stayed quite close to the venue, and so I got to like walk around the town there. And yeah, I don't know, some of them kind of blur into one. Which one did you go to? Did you go to one of them?
So what sucks is I didn't end up getting to make it to yours because of the fact that my friend decided to buy 3 days of Suicidal Tendencies and it landed on the same day. And I was like,
Oh
cool.
no.
And everyone knows me as a big Merciful Fate King Diamond fan. And I'm like, cool. So if I bail on this friend, they're gonna get all like, really? You couldn't go to the show with me? And I'm just like,
Oh
okay.
no.
I was
So
bummed
you
out
went to
because
the
I
Las
never,
Vegas one.
yeah. So like, which is crazy because but I know everyone's been excited to see you play. So but that the LA one, I wish I would have done that because I live in like 20 minutes away from that. Like it's like, oh my god. Do you have a memorable show from that tour?
Um, I guess again. Oh wait, which one was it? Hang on. They're super seriously. They're all blurring into one. I mean, the most special one to me was LA, because some of my friends from Birmingham, my boyfriend and two of my friends who were living with me at the time, all flew over to LA, like did like 7,000-mile journey. One of them's terrified of flying, but she was like, I will fly to America for you.
Right?
And
That's
yeah,
cool.
they all came to the show, and that was like super crazy because also Dave Grohl was there, and I was not expecting that at all. And yeah, and then so they were like hanging around backstage, like, Becky, I can't believe this is happening. Like, you're a superstar,
Right?
and we're here hanging out with you in LA. And Dave Grohl's somewhere here, but we haven't like found him yet. So yeah, I think that was probably the most like cool and special show because I had been to LA like twice before,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a very different context to actually be able to play there. It was very cool.
Dang. And so, do you have a favorite with Fury? You guys play UK everywhere over there. Do you have a favorite place to play over there?
I love playing Newcastle. There's always a really cool crowd up there, and obviously our hometown of Birmingham's great. We play a lot in the southwest, which is lots of like seaside kind of towns. A lot of really small towns, which I don't know. Every time we go there, a lot of people go, "Oh, we don't have like proper bands and like original bands come through here very often." So it's really great that you're here. But the people down there, they're just always really crazy for the music. They just don't get it very often,
Yeah.
and it's just nice to to just visit those places that don't usually have very many bands come down there. Like it's like a long motorway, and then the motorway runs out, and then it's even further. So like any touring band would just not even like touch it with a barge pole. But yeah, we like those kind of little towns, and playing for them because they just
Yeah.
always really appreciate it.
Pretty much. And that's small towns are the best anyways. You get to explore and see things you don't see in big towns, you know?
Yeah,
Um
absolutely.
when you and with Merciful Fate, did you have a favorite song you got to play?
I really loved well, Melissa's like my favorite Merciful Fate song, like for a long time. So I loved playing that. But also Doomed by the Living Dead. That was one that was kind of new to me when I started learning the set. And as soon as I like put it on, I was like, this song is cool. Like I started learning it, I was like, this song is really, really cool. And it just like my love for it just kind of just went up and up and up every time I played it. And yeah, it's great. Like it's one of their like earliest songs, and it's very thrashy, and I don't know, it's quite different to the rest of their stuff that's a bit more progressive. But those are two like very opposite songs, Doomed by the Living Dead and Melissa. Like one's very slow and epic and got all the things in it, and the other one's just fast and blasting. So but yeah, those are the kind of those are the two things that I love most about Merciful Fate.
Pretty and you never know what to expect with them either because like, with Merciful Fate, Melissa, Don't Break the Oath, they're all like wild songs, and then like as he gets older, he like actually grows as a musician and his writing changes a little bit, but the music itself becomes like more epic. That's
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
that's how I see it.
Yeah.
But and then with touring with the band on that level, what did you learn? I know you said the whole like front of house stuff, but did you learn any new touring things?
I guess I had no idea that you say about like the front of house thing. Like I had no idea how much stuff gets moved around from venue to venue. Like
Yeah.
I really thought that like the PA, the in-housing PA they would be the same speakers every time,
Mhm.
but they're not. Like they because to me it seems like, okay, when you start off as a band, you go to pubs and they don't have a PA, so you have to buy your own PA, and then you have
Yeah.
to set it up and play there, and then you get a bit higher up the kind of gigging ladder, and then you play proper venues that have their own PA, and it's a good PA, so you don't have a PA anymore, you just use the venues. And then I thought that's you just go up bigger and bigger venues, better venues.
Mhm.
But it turns out you get to a point where you take everything with you now because your stuff is better than what they have in house there, and you want it to be consistent at every show. So there are more, even more like speakers, because I was like, like we've got the same monitors every day, like the same speaker. That's interesting. And I'm like, and I think I noticed it more when one show had quite a like small stage, like it wasn't very wide. And then the next one had a really wide stage. And I was like, well, why isn't this monitor over there? Like, I'm not going to be able to hear anything over there. But no, because it's exactly the same at every show. So it's made for like the smallest one. And then even when the stage is bigger, you don't change it because like all of the frequencies and how it moves the air is worked out perfectly to be in those positions. And I was like, I mean, it's obvious now when I think about it, but at the time I had no idea that that was a thing. And yeah, just like the kind of just I guess the life of the touring crew and stuff. Like when I started looking through like the day sheets and like what time that they had to load in, it was like, okay, 4 a.m. bus call, load in. And I'm like, they have to go there at 4 a.m. to load in. Like, oh man, I feel so bad. Or, just so early.
But that makes sense. They build like a whole house. Like basically that's what it is. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. I just, it's just one of those things I didn't even think about. You just see it on stage and you go, oh wow, that's really cool. But then when I saw them there with their drills putting the stairs together, I'm like, oh shit, you actually have to build it. Of course you do, but like wow. And then sometimes the stage will be slightly different, like dimensions or whatever, and they'll have to like figure out how to. They've got like a big like upside down cross to hang, and they needed it I think at the back or something, but at one point they couldn't get it over there, so they had to move it to the front. And I don't know, and looking up and seeing people like running around on like the lights and the like stuff up there, hanging stuff down, and I'm like, that actually looks so dangerous. I just even never thought like that I'd be there when there's people setting this stuff up, and that's just their job, and they do it every single day from like 4 a.m. And I just kind of waltz in with my bass like, where do I plug in?
That must be a little nice though, just waltzing in.
Oh yeah. It was really cool, very different. Like not that I don't know. Yeah, not that we had a lot of work before, but when you're doing it yourself, there is you're driving yourself, you're setting up the merch, you're setting up your equipment yourself, and you just get used to being on the go all the time. And then when you get to like that, when you play that kind of show, when it's all done for you, you're like, well, what do I do? Like, I'm just here like a spare part. Like, give me something to do, please. Except hang from these like rafters up there. I don't want to go up there.
Makes sense. So what, like, you toured with Mercyful Fate now, what's your like next, like if you could fill in for anyone else, who would you pick to fill in for?
I want to play for Metallica. That would be my thing. I mean, aim high,
Hey, that would be cool though.
Yeah. I mean, like Cliff Burton is like my idol. I also love Jason Newsted. I love Robert Trujillo, and they're just like such a cool band. And I've played in a Metallica tribute band. I dep for them occasionally, so I know a lot of their sets. So just saying,
we get the call tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're like, hey, well, we saw that you want to come on through. I'm just kidding. That'd be cool though.
No, I'd love to do that. And I've only seen Metallica once before, so I don't know, it'd just be really, really cool to like just hear them play again. I'm hoping that they do some more tour dates in the UK soon, but
I'm thinking they will, because I'm guessing this is gonna be a world tour. That's what I think I saw they're gonna do.
Yeah, they did a big festival here, Download Festival, a couple of weeks ago. But I was like, do I want to see Metallica at like a festival? Or I mean, I think I would if like the rest of the lineup was great and I was going to go, but I really want to see it at just a Metallica gig, like where all the super fans have paid loads of money to be there. We're all just like going crazy. So I was hoping they might announce some more UK dates, or I could go somewhere else in Europe. Like it's the time now. Like I can't believe I've only seen Metallica once. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's stupid.
That's insane. You go there often too.
Yeah, yeah. Like I should have done it by now, but I should have done much more. But I don't know. I guess for a while I was like, oh, these are dates that like then I can't gig, and like the ticket price and traveling, and I don't know. I just stressed myself out about it. But then during COVID, like after all the gigs got cancelled and we're all stuck inside during all the lockdowns, I was like, I will never miss a gig that I want to see ever again because it's just not worth it. And
I
especially
agree.
like, yeah, the bands that we like as well, they don't have that many more years or decades
Right?
left in them. Like I had tickets for Ozzy and Judas Priest. That was like back in I think 2019. That was meant to be, and it got postponed and postponed. And I was like, this
Yeah.
isn't going to happen, is it?
He did the same thing. It wasn't with Judas Priest, but he kept postponing it for years, and then eventually they just canceled it. Now look at him now. He's gonna do that one in was it India or something, or Coachella? I don't know, whatever,
Oh,
somewhere in the
wow.
desert. But he's not gonna do much more now. Like it's
Yeah, so you just got to see those bands like when you can, because you never know when there's going to be a lockdown, or if they stop making albums, they stop doing tours. So yeah.
definitely. So you've accomplished a lot. What's left on your bucket list for you that you want to accomplish?
I suppose to put out an album with a label, like with a reputable label, just to have to work with a team on my own band, because I played for a big band and like done that stuff, and I've released a lot of albums independently as a DIY band, and like it's cool. I like doing that, but it's I don't know. It's a lot of pressure, like when you're like posting out all your own CDs to everyone. You're like, I just wish this could just be in the shop and people could just buy it, or like they could buy it from whatever shop they like to buy it from. And yeah, like just being able to work with I don't know, it's a bit sad because a lot of musicians, like Marco from Nightwish, he talked about like how corrupt the music industry is, and like I can see that there are a lot of like bad and like just upsetting things about the industry that just seem really unfair. But like I also know that the bands kind of need that support around them to do all the things that they want to do. So it's not like, oh, I wish I had a label. I just kind of I wish that I wish that I had someone else to like send out the CDs and the merch,
Yeah.
and like like and that we had such a huge volume of audience of people wanting to buy the CDs that I couldn't even do it on my own. Like it would be impossible. You'd have to have a whole team. And yeah, I wish that we could get on the kind of huge festivals that like my favorite bands get on, and like do the big tours. I'd love to tour more in Europe, because I have toured a little bit in Europe, only like a handful of countries though. I'd love to get more out into there, more into South America. There's always loads of like huge metal fans over there that are always like, come to Brazil, come here, and you're like, I would love to, like, if only we could just make a tour happen over there. So yeah, that sort of thing.
Like that makes a lot of sense. And like not just that, they put your like name out further than like a small band where you have to push yourself, promote yourself on Instagram or Facebook. They make commercials or music videos, and it's all on their dime. Of course you have to pay it back, but at least it's like it's fronted for you some point, so it makes it
Yeah.
easier to do all that stuff anyways.
Yeah, they have all the right connections and the right people to make those videos, because like, unless if you've got like friends who are professional like videographers and all this stuff, then it's kind of a bit harder to do it.
And do you feel with you playing with Merciful Fate that a lot of people started checking out like Fury more now because that's your main band?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely had a few more people start following us and, saying, yeah, come and play in America. Like, I discovered you through Merciful Fate. So it's really cool that, but, unfortunately we just don't have the ability to go and play for them in America at the moment. But, it's great to have those supporters online. I can see that like more orders of like CDs and t-shirts are going over to America. So it's great that support is starting to grow a little bit out there. But yeah, and I think, the bands are similar enough, like, both very melodic, got like Merciful Fate are definitely a lot heavier than Fury, but like some of Fury's older stuff is a bit more heavy. So I don't know. Yeah, there's something there for a lot of Merciful Fate fans. So it was a great little link to have.
I agree. And then, so you've been in the industry for a while now. What advice would you give your younger self?
I guess. I guess I would say to just like to branch out and like play with all the people you can,
Mhm.
um and yeah, put yourself out there and don't be afraid to to try to try things
Mhm.
and show people what you can do, because I guess although like I've some of my early YouTube videos I've been like, oh my god, that's so embarrassing, like take that down. But that was still a process of like learning how to
Oh yeah.
recording myself and listening back to it helped me so much as a musician. And like if I did that more, then I could be in an even better place than I am now. So yeah, I think like not being afraid to like show what I can do is a big one. And not being afraid to like come out of my comfort zone, because
Mhm.
I was started when I first started playing bass. I was in quite a small town,
Mhm.
and I was quite happy there. Like there weren't very many other musicians in this town, but it became very daunting when I then moved to a city, and it was like, oh my god, there's like so much going on, and it really like freaked me out. But I did persevere and managed to grow
Mhm.
to fit the kind of musicians that were there, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Whereas like before I was, if you think like big fish, small pond, and then small fish,
Yeah.
big pond, like
Yeah.
if you can move into those bigger spaces, you do have space to grow and like work with so many more people. So yeah, I guess like not being afraid to work with more people, because there's so much you can learn from them,
Mhm.
and like not feeling judged by them, just because they're better than you or more experienced doesn't mean that they're judging you and thinking you suck. It's
Yeah.
it's something that we all go through, and like everyone comes from a point where they suck to hopefully a point where they don't suck.
Yeah, I agree. And that you probably, from you doing all this too, like you get a lot of probably messages saying how you inspire people too, like from you, and you tell them probably your growth, because it takes from doing you, like you said, you watched older videos and you're like, and now you're like, dude, I've mastered it, and you're still you're always mastering it, but still, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You can always like improve on
Mhm.
something. So yeah, there's no point just focusing on those issues until you are just working on them. Like don't
Yeah.
be self-conscious about them. But yeah, like it does seem like it's really nice when people send messages saying that I've inspired them, or so there's a lot of people who've messaged me and say like, I have a daughter and she likes your content and stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool. I love
Right.
that. I hope I'm not a bad influence. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, you're definitely not. And
Oh,
then so you tour a lot and you do a lot of shows. Does your music rotation, like on a day to day, change compared to when you're on tour?
I guess when I'm at home, I tend to uh, try and discover more new music. Like I'm always like just anything, like
Yeah.
trying things out. But like I guess in terms of what I'm listening to on tour, I tend to go for like safer things, especially because I might be driving the band, and like I want to pick things that I think that they'll like, and so yeah, I'll kind of delve into some playlists that I just know will hit the spot.
Yeah.
And there was some really nice times on the Merciful Fate tour bus. So like most of the time we kind of when we were traveling we were just keeping to ourselves. But
Mhm.
when towards the end of the tour I did figure out how to hook my phone up to the speakers in the tour bus, and I was like putting on a few songs, and they were all just kind of like, these are great songs, but like why is all your music like from the 80s? Like don't you listen to any new bands? And I'm like, well, sometimes I do.
That's
But like
funny.
this is the best era of music, sorry,
It
like
is. It's
that's why I'm
true.
here with you guys.
Hey, it's true though. That's really is the best era of music. You can't beat that. You don't even get that anymore nowadays.
No, yeah, like
The rawness, the you don't get that.
no, I mean, I guess you get it, but it's just already been done. Like it was already been done by the masters.
Right? Yeah. And then, so, okay, you played in many bands. What are 3 songs you would have people check out from your band?
I would like you to listen to Burnout by
Mhm.
Fury. And also, if you get to Hell First, what's another one? I'll go for Road Warrior. But yeah, all 3 by Fury.
Hey, that's a great record, actually. I checked it out. I was because
Oh, thank you.
you have to. It's really good. Your bass playing, man, just every time it hits.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much.
So, what can we expect from you in 2023, 2024?
So the rest of this year will be just some tour dates with Fury. We're trying to kind of wind the tour dates down so we can focus on the next album. But we do have an album pretty much written. It just needs a little bit more kind of pre-production type stuff. And then we hope to start recording it in the summer. And hopefully we'll get it done nice and quick, and it will be ready for maybe like spring 2024. And then yeah, we'll see what happens then. Like, it'll definitely be touring time. um but the band's in kind of a weird position where we've got a great following in the UK, but we just kind of want to start, like, spreading out to different places. So I guess this next album could be that time that we start, like, actually getting out of the country and, like, and spreading our wings a bit more. Or it could just be a rinse of repeat of the last 2 hours. I don't know. I mean, but it'd be really interesting to see how next year goes.
Dang. Well, if you ever come to LA, I'll definitely be going to see you with Fury. That'd be sick.
Oh, that would be
Oh,
great. Yeah, I'd love to see you there.
and then, so where can everyone keep up with you and buy your record?
You can go to my website, beckybaldwinbass.com. And like most of my social media stuff is also that. Fury is furyofficial.co.uk, I think is the website. And then we've got like a web store on there, and you can find the links to all of our stuff. Are you going to NAMM this next year?
Of course I am. I'm always there.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm planning to go. So
Let
I
me
will
know.
see you there.
If you're a drinker, I'll buy you a drink.
Let's
For
do
sure.
it. Yes. Oh,
Definitely.
I'm very excited.
I'm always there. Like, I was kind of bummed because I think you're busy, but I was hoping, I like always check your page, hoping you're gonna fly out for NAM when it was what do you call it? Was it in April, I think, this year? But it's gonna be back to normal. Yes.
Yeah. Like, April was a kind of weird time to do it. It was like, it's peak touring time. I can't go to America right now. But yeah, I went in 2020, just before all the lockdowns. That was my first time going there, and it was so cool. But yeah, I'm planning to return, and hopefully, yeah, I will see
Definitely.
you
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to like meet up, hang out, like shoot the shit, like talk some music or talk anything else. It doesn't have to be that. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up. So you got a tattoo recently. Is that
there.
your little tribute to King Diamond, or is that just something you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was definitely like King Diamond.
Yeah,
So
with the
yeah,
mask and stuff, but
yeah. So it's this goat with like King Diamond makeup, and it was one of those things that I don't really like getting band tattoos,
yeah.
because I don't know, it's kind of a little rule that I have. I'm like,
Hey, it
try
makes
not
sense.
to do it, because you may change your mind, or something will happen, something will come out about something really horrible about a band member, and then you'd be like, right, great, I've got this thing on my arm. But I don't know, because most of my tattoos are animal related
Mhm.
anyway. I saw this artwork of a goat, and I was like, well, even if I, ever, hopefully that'll never happen, but if I ever stop liking King Diamond, the goat is cool,
Yeah.
and let's just go for it. And it was such a special time. Like, I really wanted to get a tattoo while I was like in LA or
Mhm.
something, but there was just no time to do
Of
it. So
course.
a way to like commemorate it would be like, yeah, afterwards getting that tattoo. And so far, I'm very, very happy with it. I'm really pleased that I did
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Did
And
has he seen it or no? Because I'm guessing you still keep in contact a little bit.
oh, I mean, he isn't like online much, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he'd have seen it, because I'm sure his wife Livia would have probably showed him, because she's online quite a bit more. She probably would have been like, check this out. But yeah, my
Definitely.
tattoo artist actually was like, he's like, I can't believe I'm tattooing like King Diamond like stuff on the bass player who played with him, and he's probably going to see it, like no pressure, but this is
cool
crazy.
That's like the coolest thing. That's like a and it's a compliment too. Like he got to like that sick moment, you know, like resume situations, you know.
Yeah, and the artist who designed it, she's really happy as well, because when I saw the artwork, I was like, I wonder if she'd mind. Like, I really hope she doesn't mind that I like, you know, stealing her artwork and getting it tattooed, because she was thinking about it being a tattoo as well, but I don't know whether she's going to go through with it or not. But she was super happy for me to have it. So that's a perk. If there's anything else of any other perks of playing with Mercyful Fate, that's one. I feel like that person was happy for me to have her tattoo, and it's a really cool tattoo.
It is really cool. When I saw it, I was like, damn, that's so cool, because dude, you got to play with Mercyful. It's like your little, like, what do you call it, thing you can have on you forever that keeps that memory that you got to do that. That's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nothing can ever, like, I can always look at that and be like, yeah, I did a cool thing. Right. Like, no matter what happens afterwards, I did something cool. I was cool once.
Well, I'd like to thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you taking the time for me.
Oh, I'm so glad you reached out. I'm so glad to have been here and chat with you. It's awesome.
Definitely. Well, we're gonna end the show. I'll see you guys next interview.